Hello and good evening to anyone who's watching or will be watching this once it's posted over the next few days. So this is the first session that I'm doing. This is, something I'm calling Ask Ricky B. So really, if you've got any questions relating to jobs, hiring, how to land a job, how to hire good people, anything related to those topics in recruitment for the infosec industry, then get in touch. So got a number of questions to get through. So looking forward to kicking that off. So I'm going to protect people's identities and just read out the questions. But looking at some of the questions lined up, I'd say there's quite a few people that have similar situations. So hopefully there can be transferable advice and experience. So first question is, someone asked, I'm passionate about security. I'm currently studying at a university in Sydney and want to start planning out my cybersecurity career. I like the idea of pen testing, but am open to other areas that also sound of interest. Where do I start? Okay, so first part of that is, I think, one, you should always follow your passion. I think security is a very, very large space. I think with all due respect, you probably have an idea what you like, but you might not know everything else that's out there. So I think in the early days, my advice is to actually get a job at a consulting company, possibly even a big four consulting company. I think if you get exposure to a large organization that's going to put you on many different areas of security, then you'll get lots of exposure. So you get lots of experience across things from pen testing to forensics to actual consulting. And again, you'll learn lots of different things. And I think importantly, one, you'll just pick up skills and experience, but also you'll learn what you like and what you don't like. And it's very often where I've spoken to people that have been in the industry for a number of years, and they started off in one area and have gone on to do other things, just purely because they've learned new skills, they've changed, and their interests have changed. So I think a good way to start off your career is in consulting, particularly Big Four, because to be honest, having a Big Four company on your CV is good for your career, unless you want to be sort of more technical and you're not the sort of person that ever wants to wear a suit and work in a professional consulting environment. But if you're open to that, I think it's a really good way to kick off your career. Next question is, I have a year of infosec experience, couple of certs and a postgraduate diploma in infosec, and currently pursuing masters in networks and security at a Melbourne university. So I have 3 months to work full time. Could you suggest how I could get a relevant IT job? Even volunteering would work, or point me in the right direction. Your help would be much appreciated. If you're looking at short-term work, I've got to be honest, that might not be so easy. Personally, I think at this stage of your career, it might not be a bad thing. Actually, taking on the advice I just mentioned previously is looking at consulting. But I think if you don't have many connections and much of a network out there, you need to start getting that. So if you're in Melbourne, get yourself to the local meetups. All you've got to do is go on meetup.com, and there's plenty of security events that happen. So one that I go to a lot is Sec Talks, and there's other ones as well. There's OWASP1, there's last Tuesday of the month, there's the ones connected with ISACA and ISA. So there's lots of opportunities to go and meet people. And I think a big thing is you've got to just get yourself out there, have some conversations, tell people really who you are, what you do, what you have to offer, and then see where that goes. But yeah, I think my advice to anyone that's looking for their first job, do not rely on online job applications. So thanks a lot, Mike. Also, don't forget Ruxmon, Cyber Spectrum. What else? Of course, Platypus. Thanks for the input there. So yeah, there's lots that you can find up. Just look at the meetups. Really important, I think, whether you're not even in the industry, you're still studying, or whether you've got lots of experience. I think one of the biggest things you need is a network. So another question is, I have close to 5 years of full-time experience in information security. I have worked in SOC environments on various SIEM tools like ArcSight, IBM, QRadar, and RSA Security Analytics. IPS HP Tipping Point, OSCP certified, working as a infosec specialist at a large ERP company, and does pen testing as well as blue team activities. Looking to move to Australia early next year, and will complete my CISSP certification, CISSP, and can I get some guidance on job hunts in Australia and how to approach it? I'll be very honest. I think getting a job from outside of Australia into Australia is not an easy thing to do. People do get it and they can get sponsored, but it doesn't happen very often. My advice is, if you're planning to come to Australia anyway, I think you'll have a better chance just when you're here actually getting interviews, because I talk to a lot of people that don't have success in even getting feedback from applications. So in my opinion, I don't think many companies will look at applications outside of Australia unless you have really unique skills and are maybe quite well known in the industry. But if that's the case, or you want to apply for jobs before you're getting here, then I think you need to speak to a recruiter that can have those conversations for you with hiring managers. Alternatively, be proactive yourself. So get out there and start having conversations. I think in a similar way that if you're new or you want to look for your first job in the industry, I think in a similar way, if you're looking for your first job in Australia, is map out where or what companies have those type of roles that you want to work in. My advice to this particular person is, you've got a really good skill set, someone that I'd like to work with, because I think where you would be better fitting, I think, is large corporates like the banks, telcos, like an NBN, NAB, Combank, Telstra. So really those big organisations, I think you've got more of a chance of getting an opportunity with. So generally in Australia, it's not the biggest security industry compared to maybe other countries like the US or regions like Europe, but it's growing. But I think the reality is you've got some good skill sets there. I think go and look at some of the biggest organisations in Australia, then look at who the heads of security are, maybe some team leads that are in maybe the blue team or offensive security, and just reach out to them directly. Let them know that you are moving to Australia. If you've got PR, then you're going to give yourself a big advantage. So another question is, I am a cybersecurity enthusiast. I've been working in security, however, purely focused in SAP, SAP. So for those that don't know SAP, that's a big ERP technology, so rivaling Oracle. Been doing this for a decade. Got a good background in network, database, and operating systems. Would like your advice on how to pick up a new challenging skills and job in Australia. Hold PR, currently based in Asia. I think actually similar approach to the last person actually, is you need to reach out to some of those organisations directly yourself, or with a specialist recruiter to make that introduction. I'm not just saying specialist recruiter and being biased, but I think generally you need someone who understands what you do, what you have to offer, and also how to introduce you to organisations. On an issue I see is, if you're looking to transition from SAP or SAP security over to pure infosec or cybersecurity, you're looking to do that change and also the change of country. Unfortunately, what you have going against you is you don't have the local experience or knowledge, and rightly or wrongly, this is not my opinion, but unfortunately it does hinder some people or many people with their applications. I gave some advice to someone recently in a similar situation that was also in the SAP background. My advice would be look at the organizations that have SAP, and there are quite a number of those. I used to do SAP recruitment myself, so there's lots of businesses that have SAP over here. So it might take a longer way to do it, but sometimes you've got to take the long road to get where you want to be. My advice would be look at those large organizations with SAP. Again, you've got security experience related to SAP. Maybe there's a position where you can bridge the gap between SAP and security, or work in SAP security again. Because I think generally you would get a better opportunity making that transition in stages, as opposed to trying to do it in one go. Of course, apply for jobs, but I think you'll have a better chance of just showing companies that you've got something to offer. And that's a really big thing when it comes to applications, is you need to demonstrate value. You need to demonstrate why the company needs to hire you over someone else that's got some really similar experience, or more appropriate experience to what they think they need. So a very short question. I'm looking for contract or remote work in the security field. Can you please help me? I'm overseas. Blunt answer is no, not really. It depends on what you do. It's not very clear in terms of your skill sets. And if I'm honest with you, I don't see a lot of remote work for people not in Australia. So I had a position recently that was actually a remote role, but that meant you didn't have to come into the office. It didn't mean you could be in anywhere in the world. I suppose a lot of businesses have trust issues, which is probably not too surprising in security. They like to offer, I think, remote work to people who they know. That's sometimes how it works, or quite often the way it works. Contract work outside of Australia, again, I would struggle with that. Not through choice, but I just don't see much of a take up. Most of the work in Australia that I see is permanent positions anyway. So if you do want to try and contract with companies in Australia, then I'd suggest look at the banks and the telcos, the big corporate companies again, because that's where probably most of the contract roles take place. But I wouldn't hold my breath on that one. So yeah, sorry to say that. Okay, so another question is a very short one again. I'm open to positions matching my profile where employer provides visa sponsorship. It definitely happens. I know people that are here on sponsorship, but I don't think it happens as much as it should do. Australia, for a company that wants to, I think, grow, for a country that says, about skills shortages and things like that, I don't see a huge amount of sponsorship happening. So I do get a lot of people from overseas, all around the world, from Asia to India to Europe to the US and South America. A lot of interest to come to this country, which is understandable. It's a pretty good place to be. But unless you've got a really, really niche skill set, or just very, very good at what you do, and again, maybe quite known in the industry, or again, I know a lot of pen testers that have come over here on sponsorship, just because, again, I think it's one of those roles where, from a pen testing point of view, it's easier to demonstrate your skill set, maybe compared to other roles. Because you can be known in the industry for presenting at conferences. You can be someone who's really high up on the rankings for bug bounties. You can develop a tool. You can do lots of different things where people can know you, but maybe if you work in network security or maybe GRC or something similar, maybe it's not as easy to be well known. So it's not impossible, but my advice would be, depending on your skill set, if it's more like audit, risk and compliance, I'd suggest look at the big consulting companies. Other than that, just, I suppose, look at the companies that have the jobs that you see, maybe try and reach out to them directly. But unfortunately, it's not an easy process, if I'm honest with you. So like I said, I get a lot of people sending me messages, and I want to help everyone I can. But the vast majority of jobs that I get come in, rarely do companies offer sponsorship. So next question is, wondering if you can able to assist me on finding opportunities to develop a career in the infosec industry. Been in IT close to 10 years, mainly consisted of sysadmin, networking roles, including projects and support. I understand that most organisations you would communicate with are probably searching for seasoned veterans of their craft, but I'd appreciate if you could lead me in the right direction of the fundamentals in demand at the moment. Good question. Okay, so I think it depends on your interests, what you want to do, why you want to get into security, and what you are doing about it already. So it's one thing for someone to say they're passionate about something, then it's a different thing to say that they can demonstrate that with specific examples. So a really big trend or transition I've seen is people moving from sysadmin roles to pen testers. So if you, hopefully you're listening, and my advice would be, if you get the time, is have a search on LinkedIn. So just for reassurance, so if you've got a sysadmin background, networking background, just do a search that job title, and then type in pen tester, and then just search, and do a region, make it small, like Melbourne or Sydney, Australia, something. And you'll see there's a lot of people that have gone down that path. So it's a really well-trodden route, I think. In my opinion, from what I hear, companies are very welcoming people that are looking to move from that background of sysadmin networks to pen testing, especially if they're already doing the activities that pen testers do. And that can be from one, going to the events, the networking stuff, conferences, you're developing the skill set, maybe doing the OSCP, maybe you're working on some personal projects, research time. So all those little bits and pieces would be really helpful. But I think one of the great things is, if you want to be a pen tester, is you've got a really good understanding of how things work and how they don't work, or what can look normal. So I think someone who is basically a pen tester from scratch, their first job, or someone who's got 10 years experience sysadmin becoming a pen tester, both will offer different things, different experiences, or different unique views. But I think companies would really welcome what you're doing. So as long as you're doing the right activities to build up your own skill set, because to be honest, you can't rely on a company to hire you as a junior pen tester if you're not doing anything yourself. Pen testing is one of those roles where the learning is constant. So you've really got to work on your own personal development, show companies that you're passionate, enthusiastic. Again, it's not just words, but it's actions. I think if you can demonstrate that, then you show your value to that business. So next question is, I'm in my final year of Masters of Information Technology, specialisation in computer networks and cybersecurity from Melbourne University. Right now I'm on holiday for 4 months, lucky you. I'm looking for opportunities to learn in the field of cybersecurity. I'm hoping you can help me in this regard. I think, go back to my earlier point really, I think my advice to you would be either consulting companies. So if you're in your final year, I'd be hoping that you've already been out there networking, building up a network, meeting people. One thing I'd like to say is with the networking side of things, it's not always about meeting a manager or a team lead at these events. Personally, I think what really works well, and I've seen it happen many times and heard about it, is the relationships you build with the people that go to these things, and generally they are the more technical people that are the hands-on people working in the teams. So really, if you can build a relationship with, for example, someone who knows that then they've got a job coming up in their team and they refer you to their manager, that will be a lot stronger than you applying direct and no one knowing you. So if you have one or two people that say, yeah, this person's a great person, they come to every meetup, they're really passionate, enthusiasm, I've known them for 6 months, really nice person, those things go down so well. So that's a big part of why networks are vital. I think really, again, look at consulting companies, look at whether it's an internship, whether it's a permanent job, make yourself known to people. So reach out to, go as high as the partners. I wouldn't be put off talking to someone because of their job title. Speak to an associate, speak to a consultant, speak to a team lead, speak to a director, speak to a partner, speak to anyone, because you never know where the conversation leads. And I'm just getting a comment there. So someone's saying, thanks a lot, Michael. Getting a referral from a pen tester can be better than making a direct contact with a hiring manager. Completely agree, and that just reiterates what I just mentioned before. Referrals go a long way in this business. And it's not just for infosec professionals. It works for me too. In my job, most of the stuff I do now is through referrals. So again, the security industry is built on trust. Shocker. But yeah, look, if I'm honest with you, again, back to this person, that you looking for your first gig is not going to be easy. I don't know of many companies that will hire someone just because of their education. So again, it's more around your personal activities, be able to document and show your passion. I think if you can, again, look at the big corporate companies, because generally that's where I think the entry levels will possibly be. Look at a Telstra that have opened up some new SOCs recently. There is one in Melbourne, and there are entry level positions at these businesses. Also, don't rely on companies that have just job openings. Look at an organisation that has the role that you want to work in. Work out who the manager is and contact that person. So do your research and find out who it is, because often so much hiring gets done offline. So that happens in the background. So it's not just about jobs online. Because if you apply online for a job, you could be applying with 50, 100, 200 plus people. So if you make direct contact with a company, even if you're not looking for that job right now, my advice is if you're finishing your studies in a year or two, start the conversations now, because by the time they finish, they'll know who you are, and hopefully you can actually build some sort of relationship. And I'll try and get through this last question. I'm a young and overly passionate security network analyst, and I desire to be in a position where my skills are being fully utilized and being able to tap into the leading edge technologies in the industry, from a threat prevention, sandboxing, intrusion, behavior, and analytics. I'm a blue team type security engineer with aspirations to go deeper into cybersecurity. Can you please share advice and recommendations where I should look in terms of moving to a better company that can help me grow in these areas? Sounds good, sounds interesting. What I'd say is, and just my advice to anyone is, look, when you are talking to someone, try and be quite specific, because when you say a better company, I don't know where you work, I know you've mentioned the role loosely, but I don't know what you do. And when you say go deeper into cybersecurity, what does that mean for you? Cybersecurity, the term, it's got many definitions. So do you mean pen testing as well as blue team, so purple team? Do you mean pen testing? Do you mean going pen testing then to red team? Or do you mean something different? But what I'd say is, look, this is a career. My advice to anyone is, look, these days everybody's impatient. Everyone wants the here and now. Sometimes you need to take the slow road to build up your knowledge, to build up your experience, to build up, something that you have to offer. So even if you get some experience very quickly, that's fantastic. But bearing in mind you're going to be working for a long time, unless you win the lotto or do some startup and make a lot of money. But the reality is most people can work for a long time, and you don't always have to rush things. I think sometimes it's much better to actually really learn your trade, really understand as much as you can, and build up your knowledge, and then you go to somewhere and you have to offer something. There's often people out there that I see that want to ship jobs as quickly as 6 months, 12 months into their first job. I think it's really important that you build up really experience, but also show companies that you are around for the long term. When I look at CVs, sometimes you'll see people, they move around for various reasons, and that's why it's always good to dig deeper. But people will make assumptions. There are people that move every year or two for different reasons, but maybe it's for career progression. But again, take your time. Show people that you're not a job hopper. I think show people that you are looking to build on something. Because again, I think if the longer you get involved and learn something, be part of a business, you will get other opportunities, because this company that this person is working in, maybe it's not a great company, but maybe it is. Maybe it's a lot better than other businesses out there, or maybe they could get taken over and things can change. But in terms of work with new leading edge technologies, do some research, mate. Sorry. Look at the companies that have the technology you want to work in, or even figure out what technology you're interested in, and then go and to those vendors and try and find out from them which companies are they working with, because then you'll work out which businesses are leading with the leading edge technology, and then which companies are interesting for you. But there's a consistent theme, I think. Unless you've got 2 years, 12 to 2 years experience plus, and you're looking for a job in your local economy, industry, like if you live in Melbourne, you've only worked in Melbourne, it's a lot easier to get a job. The hard thing is when you move countries or getting your first job. But the theme is you need to show you're passionate, you need to be proactive. Because if you're not, you end up just applying for jobs consistently online. That can be demoralizing, and it can take you a long time. There's people that I've personally advised, friends of mine that I've met at meetups, and I'd love to help everybody, but the reality is I can't. I'm restricted by the businesses I work with and the jobs that come in. But I think if you're proactive, you give yourself such a good chance. So I hope that helps those people that sent in those questions. We're near enough up at 8:30 anyway, so 8:30 in a Melbourne evening. I'm going to make the most of my evening now. So thank you very much for everyone that's joined the conversation. I will be posting this technology dependent online anyway, and well, if I get good feedback, then I'll do another one. So thank you and have a nice evening. Take care.